All right, let's jump to the AFC. We got the Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 1.5, the total 47.5. Sean, who do you like for the Chiefs?
Yeah, so you got my run it back with Devontae Smith. I'm going to take your run it back here with Xavier Worthy at plus 200 again. It's ridiculous that he's plus 200. This is showing the most value for me. You could see it in our prop projections tool. Um, I'm projecting him closer to plus 150. Like I said on our previous pod, I mean, this passing offense of the Chiefs really ran through Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. That's it. DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown combined for 0 catches. Whereas Worthy, I mean, he ran around on 88% of Mahomes dropbacks last week. That was his second highest rate of the season. So they're just running the offense through Kelce and Worthy right now. And he should have scored that touchdown. They were on the like 3 yard line and they pitched it. They kind of handed it off to Worthy. He was inches away from scoring. I thought you hit that, but again, they just get him involved in so many different ways. He can run it in, he can catch it in. He has an explosive. He's the fastest player in the league. So just way too much value here at plus 200. He's by far my favorite play and the most value I'm showing this week.
Yeah, I have him at about plus 130 to score.
Oh, yeah.
And a real key to me is
Yeah.
the rush attempts. Our guy Stuckey had a great breakdown on this week's Action Network podcast where he went back and looked at every Chiefs postseason game, in the Mahomes era. And he found that I think a wide receiver got a carry in like 20 of the 21 games or something. And Worthy's pretty much the obvious candidate as he's been. And his rushing attempts are coming in the red zone. His touchdowns are from 3 yards out and then 20 just outside the red zone twice, 21 and 21. So those carries are very valuable. Even just one carry for a player like him adds a lot of value to his touchdown market. So like Worthy a lot. Got a couple other guys in this game. One kind of similar in the similar boat to Worthy, and then a long shot. So I think Kareem Hunt is a little bit undervalued in the market as well. The market continues to respect Isaiah Pacheco I went back and watched every single Pacheco snap, and Hunt's clearly been the better running back. And so I think in addition to Hunt already being undervalued in the carries from a carry perspective and volume perspective, which then makes his touchdowns undervalued. I think he actually might get more work as the postseason progresses because he just looks like the better back. So I like him at plus 190 on DK. I think he's going to get all of the goal line carries. Pacheco's notoriously not a great short yardage back. And he's also seeing the most action in the pass game. Perine's playing third downs, but Hunt is kind of their preferred, just regular passing down back over Pacheco as well. So I think Hunt's a little bit undervalued because the market is kind of giving them both the same amount of carries, and I think Hunt should have more at this point. And then one other guy I think is really interesting here is Juju Smith-Schuster at 10-1. Now, if you look at red zone routes last week, he tied for the team lead with Travis Kelce. Now, you might have not noticed him out there because he wasn't a read. He wasn't a first read on any of the targets. He didn't get a target, but we just need him in there. And I noticed that, last time these teams played, he's on those Noah Gray touchdowns. On at least one of them, he set a pick. So you know how Andy Reid kind of calls games and, plays build off each other. So I could easily see now, maybe Noah Gray setting a pick for Juju because he's going to be the least accounted for Chiefs receiver anytime he's on the field. So 10-1, I think, is an interesting one for a guy that's been on the field just as much as Travis Kelce in the red zone, and no one probably realizes it. So like Juju at 10-1 as well.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind the Kareem one as well. After Worthy didn't score that touchdown, Hunt ran it in. He's seen every single goal line carry since Pacheco returned in week 13. So he's clearly the goal line back. I know you've talked about that Mahomes, he just doesn't do sneaks. So if they get on the 1 yard line, it's very likely going to be Hunt. So yeah, plus 190 for the goal line back is probably, offering some value.
Yeah, and especially with the uptick in passing usage, because that's just, he's been in on some red zone routes as well. If it's not like a third down, he'll be in there too. So yeah, I like Hunt a lot. Let's flip over to the Buffalo Bills, and I know you like old friend of the podcast here. Who you like for Buffalo?
Yeah, our boy, Ty Johnson, plus 750. You got to be kidding me. I cashed on him at plus 650 a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to see if I can go back to the well here with Ty. But he tends to see more playing time usage when the Bills are going to be in a closer, even trailing game script, which could be the case here against the Chiefs. So I think they're going to be more aggressive. This sets up better for Ty Johnson than it does, Ray Davis when it comes to Bills backups. But last time I gave Ty out, I highlighted that he leads all running backs in targets 10 plus yards downfield with 10. He has 180 yards on targets downfield. Which leads all running backs, obviously, the next closest is just 79 yards. So, it's pretty rare for running backs to see downfield targets, but that's really Ty's specialty. And that just means he's more likely going to have explosive catches that could lead to touchdowns. We saw that, against the Broncos when he caught that 24-yard pass in the back of the end zone. I mean, he did an amazing job to stay in, but I think he has massive upside here against the Chiefs. He's going to be, more highly involved than most weeks. So I think at plus 750, he's a steal.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for the Bills is that because it's been such a long season and, they've kind of established, we know they have Josh Allen and they can throw it around and whatnot, but it feels like the market is kind of just undervaluing the most obvious game plan for the Bills, which is to just keep doing what they've been doing, which is targeting their backs and tight ends, especially down the field. Outside of Mac Hollins, the Bills leaders in depth of target are Kincaid, Knox, and Ty Johnson. So nice. They're kind of exploiting those mismatches that you generally get in the playoffs. You're going to target the team's weakest linebacker, safety, whatever, but they're kind of maximizing that by, putting them in space, getting it downfield and kind of creating their chunk plays that way instead of with their wide receivers. So yeah, that could change, but I think the market's just undervaluing the most obvious thing, which is the Bills keep doing this. And Ty Johnson is one of the prime beneficiaries, because I mean, you would probably try to get him matched up, especially with the Chiefs playing man, maybe on Bolton or somebody like that, a linebacker, and yeah, that would be advantage Ty Johnson all day. So love it. For me, James Cook is my top play in this one, but I think Ty Johnson is the best play in this one. But James Cook is I think a value as well at plus 145 on FanDuel. Now, he scored in 13 of 18 games. That's 72%. Obviously, don't expect him to sustain that rate. But again, I think the market is undervaluing the Bills. Just keep doing what they're doing. And that's feed James Cook. So every week, we see his carry prop. It's like 12, 13 and a half. And so his touchdowns are going to kind of be based off that, where, they've been feeding him like 20 carries a game in the playoffs, that he's been the centerpiece of their offense. It was kind of fluky that Ray Davis got the goal line carry last week, but again, Cook scored in 72% of his games. I have him around about plus 120, about plus 125 here. So showing a bit of value at plus 145 on FanDuel. And I think he, along with Ty Johnson, he could also be involved in the pass game. He actually had, I believe it was 6 targets in that last Chiefs matchup, a lot of checkdowns. So some added value there. And one other guy I'll mention is Curtis Samuel at plus 750. He's kind of come out of nowhere to be a factor. We were trying to figure out, the splits between Mac Hollins and Amari and Coleman. And Curtis Samuel just said, wait, I'm here too. And so they're all just splitting snaps behind Shakir. Now, Samuel's the only Bill receiver that has not run a route in the red zone in these playoffs. However, we know, they love to, they're kind of doing unpredictable things. So here's where I see some value in going with something they haven't done yet, because I mean, number one, he doesn't need a red zone. He actually did score from deep against Denver, but in the first matchup with KC, he led the team with 6 red zone routes. So they clearly see something there with him, to where they want his speed on the field. And I think you could see them use him again in that fashion, because he kind of came out of nowhere, even in that Chiefs game. I think he caught 5 or 6 balls and a touchdown in that one, just like he kind of came out of nowhere in these playoffs, and has been more of a factor than I think people thought. So I like buying low on Samuel, because he has been the one Bills receiver that's actually had some explosive plays down the field. And I think there's some upside and room for growth with his red zone role as well. So like him at plus 750.
And he could also get like a designed rush attempt, like a reverse. I'm actually surprised they haven't been giving him more direct rush attempts. That's kind of been his thing throughout his career. So yeah, if they're in the red zone, like a play where they kind of hand Curtis Samuel the ball off isn't out of the question either, which can lead to a touchdown, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think the speed is definitely an asset in the playoffs. And you have the other thing with Samuel that I think is interesting is that, Hollins, Cooper, Coleman, those are the perimeter guys, right? Kincaid and Samuel have been more in the slot. I mean, excuse me, Shakir and Samuel, right? The Chiefs could put McDuffie on Shakir. Like, McDuffie can go and play slot. He's played a lot of slot. So if they do that, then maybe Shakir doesn't get his usual 6-7 catches, and then maybe that forces more action towards Sam as well. So yeah, a lot of ways for I think him to hit.